Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Obaid Shah once again. This is part 2 of the first episode of the Benchmark Scrubs podcast. Thank you for listening and hope you enjoy. Because
I
that's
wanted to
who
say something.
Yusuf. Yeah, okay. Go ahead, Ibrahim. What do you have to say?
No, so the big thing for me is I have the Heat coming into the playoffs in the 4th seed. I really think they have the potential to upset people for the very fact that Jimmy Butler is their leader. The big key there is he is fearless, right? When he left Chicago, when he was in Chicago, he thought he was better than Derrick Rose after Derrick Rose's MVP season. When he went to the T-Wolves, he thought he was better than Cat and Wiggins. And I remember that day where he took the third stringers and beat the starters. And
I
then
don't
when
think he thought. One second, I want to cut you off because I think you're
I was
wrong.
on a rant.
No. Listen though, I don't think
wrong.
I don't. When you say that he thinks he was better, I don't think he ever thinks he was better. He said he worked harder than them. He always gave Cat and Wiggins credit that they were better players. Huh?
That's what I was gonna get to.
Well, you didn't get to it fast enough. Go ahead.
I mean, no, go ahead.
This is why we don't let you talk, Danielle. This is why.
When you said Jimmy Butler thought he was better, that to me implied that he thinks he's a better player than them. But
yeah, I think I know what Danielle's saying because even with Chicago, when after Derrick Rose got injured and he was coming back, that whole kind of beef thing that happened in Chicago, Jimmy Butler said, why does a guy like Derrick Rose, who's a proven MVP, not have to work just as hard as I do, kind of thing.
Yeah,
he's one of those mentalities where I don't care if you're the star, I don't care if you're the last man on the bench.
Yes,
everybody's putting in 110% on my team, and you got to respect that, man. And you see it with the Miami Heat. You know what I mean?
That's what I was going to say. And then just to end my point, I think he's going to upset some people in the East because he's not scared.
Yeah.
There. Go ahead, Obaid. I give up.
All right. So what I wanted to talk about was who is each of yours NBA Finals representatives from the Eastern and Western conferences, and who do you think will be the winners of the NBA Finals come June?
Ooh, Ibrahim, you want to start?
Oh man, this is a tough question. Coming out the West, I got to say the Lakers. I think LeBron's going to get enough juice for one more shot at the title. I think he's going to come out the West. I think their organization has made some great moves this summer. They've gotten better than where they were when they won the chip a couple months back. And I think if they have to, they'll make another move or two during the year to just kind of shore up any weaknesses that come up. I think they're definitely going to get to the finals. Coming out the East, that one's going to be tough, right? I have 3 teams that I really think they all have a shot. Right, I think the Heat and the Celtics have the greatest chance of coming out the East just because they're so deep and they're dynamic. Right, the Bucks, if you shut down Giannis, you can shut down their team. We'll see how that goes now with Drew Holiday, and the Nets have a great chance with KD and Kyrie, and the 76ers have a good shot. But I think it's going to come down to the Celtics and the Heat. To be honest, I think it's going to be the Celtics. I think the Heat are going to go deep, but I think that it's going to be a Lakers-Celtics final with the Lakers taking the chip.
And how many games?
I can't predict that right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if it went, 5 or 6 games.
I'm going to say Lakers and Heat in the championship, repeat from last year, except this time it'll go 6 games and Lakers will win it in 6 games.
Well, it went 6 games.
It went 6 games.
Yeah. Just kidding.
No,
I guess that's what I get for messing with Daniel. Sorry, bud. But truly though, in the West, see the difference between the East and West is the Lakers are far and away everybody's favorites in the West. I think so, and rightfully so. They should be.
Yeah,
far and away. It's the Lakers, and then everybody else is in the second tier. In the Eastern Conference, it's a lot of disparity. There's not much going on, not much differences. You can make a legitimate argument for, you could say, at least 6 teams on why they could be championship contenders. You can even throw in the 76ers. They might not have the talent, but I do think Doc Rivers is a great coach, and he could maybe turn that team around. They have Seth Curry now. Who knows? Their shooting is going to get better. They have a big man. Ben Simmons is going to improve. Joel Embiid, if he stays healthy, they might be good. Who knows? But I think he have shown resilience and grit. They have a good combination of talent and coaching. And I think that goes understated a lot of times. And I do think that's why they'll come out of the East 7 games against the Celtics. And then in the Western Conference, it'll be the Lakers versus, who would the Lakers face? Just to stick it to all you guys, it's going to be the Jazz. It's going to go 6 games, okay?
What do you
That's
mean stick it to the rest of us? It's only Danielle saying that they're not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's not go, bro. We're going to come back.
Don't loop me in with this thing that the Jazz aren't going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
They're
no, you're looped in.
Big generalization.
I've screenshotted it right now. It's a mental
Bro,
screenshot.
I have them as a 6th seed.
No, fake
we should
news.
what's it
Fake
called?
news.
We should have our after this podcast. We should each put a list together for East and West, 1 through 8.
Yeah.
And
That's actually what I was thinking when you.
And you know what, guys? We're gonna put that. We're gonna put that on our Twitter. We're gonna put that on our IG, so then we can follow it up when that time comes and see which one, who was right. Obviously it was gonna be me, but more so how right I was and how wrong these guys were. But let's be honest, folks. I'm the only one that made the playoffs in our fantasy football league. So whose opinion are you going to actually trust?
We're talking about basketball, not football.
Auto draft. Does not matter.
Auto draft.
I don't stop the count. Stop the count. Stop the count.
No, but can I just say also that I do agree with Ubaid that the Lakers and the Heat are going to be in the finals this upcoming year. I think it's going to be a repeat. But I think this year the Heat will take it to 7 games. But LeBron James being LeBron James, 18th year, he's going to win another ring.
LeBron James.
That's how this season.
So you guys all got the Lakers, huh?
What about you, Daniel?
So you guys all got the Lakers.
Daniel's going to pick the Jazz, even though they didn't make the playoffs.
Daniel's about to say LaMelo Ball and the Charlotte Hornets.
Coming out from the West.
Speaking of LaMelo.
Wait, let me answer my question first.
Okay,
he's like, speaking of LaMelo, let's transition.
He's like, I think everybody has spoken here now.
Okay, so I agree. I think Lakers should be the favorite, and Lakers, Lakers, Lakers. I think
everybody has spoken.
They should definitely be the favorites. I agree. Adding Schroeder, Harrell, and Gasol, I think their team got better than last year. But I'm going to give you a team that I'm going to choose to come out of the West. I know the Lakers are the favorites, but since all of you guys have chosen the Lakers already, I'm going to talk about the Mavs and why I think they will have a good chance to come out.
God.
So let me talk about it. What?
No, you're good. I thought you were about to say the Utah Jazz.
No. They're not making the playoff, guys. You guys are going to come back 6 months, and you're going to be like, Daniel was right.
What are we putting on this? You got to take us out to dinner or something.
That's fine. Right. That's fine. Let's do it. You can.
Daniel's going to be like,
is that a bench mop scrubs first?
Yes. If the
are
Jazz,
you promising us dinner if the Jazz make the playoffs?
If the Jazz make the playoffs, yes, I will buy all 3 of you guys food. Okay.
I want
perfect.
Okay, let's go. So Luka, let me talk to you guys about Luka. Like I said, he's only 21. Let me say his stats from last year: 28.8 points, 9.4 rebounds, 8.8 assists, and he shot 46% from the floor. That's crazy. That's almost a triple double. And he's getting better every year. It was his 2nd year. You can actually say the playoff, the playoff in the bubble was actually a 3rd year. And he got better doing that as well. So, hey, Brahim's making that face, but I'm talking about the first rookie year, 2nd year until COVID came, and then I count the 3rd year as when we went into the bubble. But regardless, he's been getting better year by year. And then his sidekick, Porzingis. I think you guys are doubting him. He's only 25. I know it feels like he's been there for about 8 to 10 years, but he's only 25. And let me tell you his stats when he was healthy. as mentioned, last year he came back. He was good, but I think he's going to be even better. When he was in New York, he averaged 22.7 points on 40% shooting from the 3-point range. He's a unicorn. He has length, and the one thing he's underrated on is his defense. He blocks a lot of the shots. He blocked about 2.5 shots last year. And they added a couple of good pieces, in my opinion, as well. They added Josh Richardson, who's a good shooter, and James Johnson, whose versatility and defense is something they lacked last year. And I think that's going to help them, especially with LeBron in the West. I'm not saying he's going to be able to guard him one-on-one, but I'm saying he's going to be able to help out and maintain with that. So, I mean, their 3-point percentage from last year, they were one of the top 5 teams. And I think that's something you need to be good at doing this decade to kind of win a chip. So I think Luka's going to step up. And I think the Lakers, I think the Clippers would have lost to the Mavs if Porzingis wasn't injured, meaning they would have gone a little bit farther. So I think last year's experience is definitely going to help them. And I'm going to read a quote from LeBron James. He said, "I wanted to begin Team LeBron and have Luka at my first signing with Nike. I don't even know if Luka knows this, but he will know now." So when LeBron speaks, we better listen. And he thinks that Luka's the real deal. And I have him as a favorite to win the MVP next year.
Damn, Daniel's the guy that does the homework and everybody else just like follows him. And
Bro, no, I've done my homework. Let me talk here.
Go ahead.
There's no bigger Mavs fan than me on this call. And
You're a Nowitzki fan.
Bro, I am now a Luka fan. And I agree with everything you're saying, except them coming out the West this year. I think they're a year out. I think LeBron, like you quoted LeBron, and now you're going to bet against LeBron. That doesn't make any sense to me, right? I think LeBron's
I'll give you a credit.
You're quoting the man, and you're going to say the man's going to lose. I agree with it, right? The thing that gets me is if Porzingis can stay healthy, you can't really guard that team, right? Because it took them some time to figure out how to play them together. And then Rick Carlisle just said, Luka, you're going to have the ball. Do what you want with it. And Porzingis is comfortable playing the second fiddle, which I didn't think he would be, especially with a younger guy. But he's comfortable. He's comfortable just doing catch and shoots. And he can still get 20-plus a game. So I think they got a great core, and they have great talent around them. And Rick Carlisle is an underrated coach. And, you have to remember, he beat the Heatles. His team beat LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. So I know that they're going to be a very well-coached team. I do think if they meet the Clippers in the playoffs and they're healthy, they'll beat the Clippers. I just don't see them beating the Lakers. There's no one on the on the Mavs that can match up with LeBron and AD. Those two guys are just going to go to work, and that's why they're going to the finals.
Okay, let me say one more thing before we move on.
Daniel, we didn't get your pick from the Eastern Conference. Buddy.
Yeah, let me talk about the East. But before that, Ibrahim, I agree. Like I said, I'm just saying since everyone chose the Lakers here, I'm going to choose another team. And I think the Mavs have the best chance besides the Lakers to come out of the West. And that's why I kind of made a case for them. But not betting against LeBron, but I'm just saying if I had to choose a team besides the Lakers, I would choose the Mavs, and I was kind of making my case for that. On the team coming out from the East, as I mentioned, I think it's going to be the Celtics, and mainly because of Jason Tatum. And they have a lot of talent, good depth. Kemba Walker, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, three-headed monster in my opinion, all solid players, all can average 20 points. All can take you off the dribble. And the other thing is Jason Tatum, as you guys know, trained with Kobe Bryant. And I'm a big, big Kobe Bryant fan. He has a similar game. And I think that's going to help them propel the other teams. I think the Heat are great. I think they're going to have a good year again. I think they're going to go deep in the playoffs. But I think the Celtics are going to learn their lesson from last year. And they're going to be stronger. And Kemba Walker is going to be healthier than he was at the playoff run last year. So I think that's going to propel them to come out of the East. And as you guys have said, their coach, they have a really good coach. So Brad Stevens, he's really good. I think he's underrated as well. I think that's going to be really good for them. So we shall see. But those are my teams coming out of the East and West. And if I have the Mavs coming out, then I definitely gotta have the Mavs winning it all. So I have the Mavs winning in 6 games between the Mavs and the Celtics.
We got some bold prediction here.
That is certainly a bold prediction.
Yeah.
Speaking of bold predictions, aside from Daniel's very bold Mavericks win the championship next year, any other bold predictions that you guys have?
I mean, I kind of addressed this earlier, but I would argue that the Bulls making the playoffs is a bold prediction, given how bad they were. I mean, because of the coaching and stuff, but I think it's a huge stride that if they make the playoffs, I think that'll surprise a lot of people. And I don't think anybody's expecting them outside of, some of the Chicago fans for them to make the playoffs. So that's kind of my bold prediction. And then number 2 bold prediction is going to be, I think Kobe White is going to be the most improved basketball player this coming year.
That's
the second year.
Just because he's going to get more time. If he's starting, man, it gives just him more opportunities to kind of showcase what he can do, So that's kind of my bold prediction.
That's a good one
with Chicago. Yep.
All right. I have a couple bold predictions, and I think I addressed one earlier with the Warriors missing the playoffs.
Ooh.
My other bold prediction, I actually have 2 more bold predictions, and they both have to do with the Ball brothers. I think LaMelo Ball will not only win Rookie of the Year, he will make the All-Star team.
Dang.
Okay. And Lonzo Ball will be the most improved player.
And
the best player on the Pelicans roster.
What?
Next year.
Wow.
Wait,
What?
over Zion?
Yes. Over Zion.
No, man.
Okay.
No.
Listen.
Wait, no, yeah.
Listen. By best, I mean most valuable player for that team.
That's
he is the point guard, right? Yes, you have Brandon Ingram, you have Lonzo Ball, and you have Zion Williamson. You have 3 phenomenal talents, but at the same time, you need someone to take charge of that, right? So I think Lonzo will do a great job feeding them. He's already a phenomenal defender, much better than his younger brother. He's only going to improve upon that. And I think he's going to really showcase the talents of both Ingram and Zion, but I don't think they'll reach their potential unless Lonzo can get them there. And I do think he will, which is why he will be the most valuable player for the Pelicans. And I do think that's why he will win the most improved player. And his brother, LaMelo, will end up winning Rookie of the Year and make the All-Star team. Not necessarily because he might deserve it, but because of, number 1, he has all the media hype. He was looked upon everyone, and we know how the NBA does its all-star voting. It's basically whoever's the most popular player. He's going to get the volume, right? He's going to have the ball in his hands all the time. He's a great passer, not the best defender. He's an okay shooter. So he's going to have the ball in his hands all the time. And just with sheer volume and assists and length and rebounds, he's going to make the All-Star team, and he's going to win Rookie of the Year. Those are my 3 bold predictions.
What about your prediction for Jello Ball? You can't forget about him.
He will win. He will win the NBA MVP for next year.
The Pistons cut him, right?
So
they did.
Yeah, they just cut him. I think he's going to do well in the G League. I think he might average 20 points a game. But going back to what Obaid said, with LaMelo Ball, I can see him being Rookie of the Year. The All-Star, if he's a starter on the All-Star, which is voted by the fans, I think that's doable because he's got over 6 million followers on Instagram. I'm sure he can get the votes and muscle his way in there. But yeah, like you said, he might not deserve it, but I think he'll get a seat.
I think so too. Honestly, it's these things, as unfortunate as they are, it's about popularity. Amongst other things, yes, talent included. I'm not saying he's not talented. He's a great talent, but popularity goes a long, long way. And aside from LaMelo Ball, you couldn't name 3 other prospects unless you actually watched NBA shows or you watched ESPN or Fox Sports or anything like that. You couldn't name 3 other players. And let's not kid ourselves. We only knew him because he is a household name, and he's going to continue making and establishing himself as a household name in multiple households that didn't even know he was there.
But I think I would just argue as far as the All-Star game goes, and we're talking about the popularity and the fans voting, especially for the starters,
Yeah.
we can't forget that Russell Westbrook is in the East now.
Exactly.
And I
That
still
goes to
think
my bold prediction.
Russell Westbrook is more popular than LaMelo,
Yes.
and obviously way better.
And Trae
so I
Young.
think he's just, if we're talking about starters, it would be hard for me to see LaMelo
Kyrie.
voted. Kyrie's kind of, I don't know, man.
Trae Young.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of people going down the line, maybe, but I think first year is kind of tough. But again, that's why it's a bold prediction, right? So,
So will Russell Westbrook be considered Russell Eastbrook now?
That was pretty
how long
good.
have you been waiting to say that?
That's pretty
Literally,
good.
as soon as the podcast started, I wanted to start off saying that, but
That is good. Obaid,
pretty
I would
sure,
say that's one of your best.
Thanks, man. I'm
Yes.
pretty sure if I said that, we wouldn't have a lot of listeners. Not that we probably already will, but nonetheless,
Yeah, I know.
as long as I make it known that that was on my mind the entire time.
There you go.
Aside from even Trae Young, I wanted to say so many other things. Trey Old, Cup Old, so many other things. But nonetheless, that wasn't as good as the Eastbrook thing.
Yeah.
Aside from my bold predictions, I think we have Yusuf and Ibrahim. What do you guys think? Go ahead.
I think Yusuf did his already.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
We're waiting
All
on yeah.
So
I haven't done it either.
I have 2 bold predictions.
Sorry.
Danny, please. So my biggest prediction right now for the NBA season actually goes off of what you just said about Russell Westbrook. I don't think the Wizards are going to make the playoffs. I think this year is the year that they finally trade Bradley Beal because Russell Westbrook wants to be the man, and he's not the same age as he was when he was in the Thunder, dropping those triple doubles every night. And with everything changing in the East is getting stronger. I have them going into the play-in tournament and losing out to the Pacers and the Hawks for the last 2 seeds in the East. So my bold prediction is Russell Westbrook is going to miss the playoffs, even though he's going to be in the Eastern Conference.
Wow.
So that's the first one. The second one is with or without Harden, I don't think the Rockets are making the playoffs. And that's even with if they keep him. I think they're going to miss it. There's too much dysfunction. I'm hearing reports of him showing up to camp out of shape. Sure, he still put on a clinic the other night when I think he had like 27 and 5 in like 20 minutes. But when you're playing basketball and you're playing out of shape, you're going to end up pulling a hamstring or something, and it's going to impact your whole season. And so, I think he's not going to lead the league in scoring, and I don't think the Rockets are going to make the playoffs, even if they keep him.
Obaid, I have a
That's
question.
interesting. That's interesting.
Obaid, I have a question for you.
Yeah. What's up, buddy?
You think the Warriors aren't going to make the playoffs? Is that correct?
I believe that is one of my bold predictions. Yes.
One of your.
Not the man
one
that
of your-
thinks the Jazz is not going to make the playoffs, but continue.
I think that's more outlandish that the Warriors won't make it than the Jazz not making the playoffs, in my opinion. I don't know if I'm pretty sure Yusuf agrees with me. But so why don't we do this, Obaid? Since I said if the Jazz don't make the playoffs, I'll get you guys food. If the Warriors make the playoffs, why don't you buy the 3 of us food? How about that?
Oh,
What if they both
Deal?
make the playoffs?
Then no one gets
Ibrahim buys us dinner.
exactly.
Yeah.
you know what? I'm betting on the Warriors. But if Danny gets his finals pick, where it's the Mavs,
Oh,
the Heat, I will buy you all dinner.
Look,
if LaMelo
listen.
Ball is voted in as a starter at the All-Star game, I will buy all of you guys dinner.
listen.
We gotta record this.
If any of Ibrahim's bold predictions come true, I will go to his house and set up his microphone for.
Hey, we have a
This
winner!
man is holding his microphone. 'cause he didn't
Someone
set it
come
up.
get your mans and help him. All right.
Obaid,
But-
where are you podcasting from, by the way? So that
I am podcasting
that's
from my
nice.
closet, guys. I'm
Coming
gonna
out.
I'm gonna put up a video soon. There's a specific reason why. It's
okay.
because nobody likes me at home, and so that's why I'm in the closet. But honestly, this is really comfortable. It's quite warm in here, but
Yeah.
nonetheless, I have thoughts to myself and my clothes. I have so many clothes in here, Yusuf.
Nice, bro.
Really, what brand?
I don't know, honestly. It's mostly my wife's clothes. So, Daniel, did we get your bold predictions, or are we gonna move on?
I mean, you guys know my bold prediction. I think the
Yeah, bro,
Jazz
the
aren't going to
Mavs
make
in
the
the finals. How
Jazz
much
and the
bolder
Mavs.
do you
just
want
the
fans to
Jazz
do?
aren't going to make the playoffs, which I
No.
think is not as blasphemous as your Warriors not making the playoffs, in my opinion. And then the Mavs one I know is a stretch, but like I said, everyone has the Lakers coming out, which I can definitely see. But the one team I see that can come out besides the Lakers are the Mavs, because Luka, I think, is going to have a really good year. He's been getting better year by year, more experience last year. If Porzingis is healthy, they're going to be a team that's going to be really, really difficult for other people to kind of, struggle with. The reason I'm struggling is also because Wahid Moy just texted me.
What? Breaking news!
Okay, hold on. That's so bogus. Wait. Hold on. That's so bogus because he texted me just now, but I was trying to be professional, Daniel, and not say it on a podcast.
Okay, excuse me.
Yo,
why
why did he text
didn't-
me though?
Why he didn't text me either, guys? I
Bro,
feel so
we wished
out
him
of
a
the-
happy birthday.
I did too. Yeah, I wish him a happy
Yeah.
birthday too.
Freaking!
I
yay.
use
What
that-
kind of friends
use
are
that
you
to-
guys?
Bro,
You guys
I
are terrible
texted him
people.
yesterday. Look,
No,
look.
listen. I asked
thought he
him
wouldn't
how you've been,
reply.
bro, though. So
Wahid,
he hasn't
Wahid, if you're
responded
out there,
to
we're looking for you, Wahid.
that. Yeah.
Come out, come
And we
home.
will
You
find
gotta
you.
put a
Come
out
Yeah,
on
come on.
Wahid. We miss you,
Wahid
and
Moeed.
we will buy you dinner too.
Wahid,
Yo,
if you don't show your face within the next few days, I'm gonna send Liam Neeson after you to find you.
After this podcast drops, #1 trending on Twitter. Who is Wahid Moeed?
Yo, so I wanted to flip the switch a little bit, conclude our podcast with something a little bit more serious. As we know, as we're hopefully nearing the end of this COVID pandemic, it's affected a lot of people in this world, and I know it's a bit trivial to talk about how it's going to be impacting the NBA season, but I do think, being a sports podcast or being one of the things we talk about, I think it's important to discuss that matter as well. And I know we have a physician on as one of our colleagues, Dr. Yusuf Saeed. So if you could please grace us with some knowledge of yours and how that can, number one, how COVID is going to impact the upcoming season versus the previous season. And where do you think it stands on having fans at games next year?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think you hit it on the head as far as how difficult it has been for everybody. It's just not been the same, Even watching sports, like, without the fans out there cheering or booing has kind of, the sport itself has lost an element in that sense. As far as the NBA itself goes, and their handling of COVID, I think, has probably been the best out of the MLB, the NFL. They did the bubble thing and it worked. They did the entire bubble without a single positive COVID case, which is unheard of. Baseball had COVID cases, NFL had COVID cases. And I think the NBA, now not being a bubble and traveling, might impact it in the sense that you might have a positive case here and there. But also, I think it's nice timing for the NBA, given that the COVID vaccine has just come out. But obviously, it's coming out in increments. So how much the vaccine itself is going to affect the NBA, I would say not much, at least this season coming up. But I think because they're not in a bubble, I would expect a couple positive cases in the NBA, and guys being out a couple games. And it's a shortened season. It's 72 games, and if a team, God forbid, loses one of their star players, I mean, you're talking about 14-day quarantine, and you're talking about, in the NBA, how many games do you think they play in 14 games? Maybe 6, maybe 6, 7, or maybe 10. Yeah. And that's for some teams who rely on these star players, that's make it or break it for the playoffs. So
Especially
in that sense, I feel like that can definitely derail some teams. So just keep a lookout for that. But hopefully, we hope that nobody gets COVID and we have a smooth season,
Now, do you think the teams, obviously there's different cities from different states, and each state has different regulations in terms of having fans in stands or and whatnot. I know some states are stricter than others depending on where they are and how their situation is. Do you think having players traveling with teams and team doctors to different states and cities for games, and some, do you think that's an advantage to the home team? Let's say if a home team has fans, is that an advantage for them? Or if the home team is not allowed to have fans for whatever, due to the pandemic, do you think that's a disadvantage to them? And how do you think that's going to impact, teams going into it? Because obviously with the bubble, one thing I think I noticed more than anything is you had a lot of younger players making a name for themselves and a bigger impact because they didn't have, I guess you could say, that playoff feel, the pressure from the fans or anything. There was kind of relatively silent, playing in an open gym essentially. So how do you think that will impact the teams and especially the younger players moving forward?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's a great point. I think we also saw proof of that in the bubble when Paul George said, he straight up admitted that because he didn't have the atmosphere, he didn't have that same adrenaline, that same drive to go out in a playoff game and compete the way he normally would in front of 20,000 fans. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to be an individual kind of assessment on why you're out there and the motivation that you have to find. I think, though, that the teams that were in the bubble have a slight advantage because they know how it was like playing without fans, if that makes sense. I think some of these teams that weren't invited to the bubble, the first couple of games, they might have to get adjusted to the feel of things. But, at the end of the day, though, honestly, all these guys are professionals. They're professional basketball players. These guys are hoopers. They'll play with nobody watching them. They'll play with like thousands of people watching them. So I don't think it'll affect them that much, the fans wise. But I think adrenaline wise and like late second games and like down to the wire, that's when you'll kind of probably feel the difference, especially for the young guys who, live off that.
Let me give you a scenario. Do you think the Clippers would have blown that lead with up 3-1 if the fans were in the sand? I don't know.
Oh, that's also a good point, actually. I'm not sure about Daniel's question. Like, I don't know the answer to that. But, like, home and away games, I think that was another thing with the bubble, You didn't have home court advantage, and I think maybe Obed was alluding to that, and I kind of just didn't talk about it. But, yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think?
The Clippers – go ahead, Ibrahim.
All right, one thing I wanted to add about that, another aspect to it is with the bubble – there was mental fatigue of just being away from your family and other people. Mm-hmm. And props to the Lakers for being resilient. But I think that's also another big factor. The Clippers they didn't stay mentally sharp, right?
Yeah.
Like Lou Williams, got some chicken wings on the side, like they had a lot of other things going on. And this year there is an increased COVID risk because they're not going to have the bubble, but the mental wear and tear, I don't think it'll be there as much, right? There'll be a different aspect to it because you're not going to be in front of fans, but you're going to be interacting with people, right? You're going to go home and you're going to see your kids, and your kids are going to be like, "Yo, Dad, why'd you hit the side of the backboard?" And it's going to be another way to kind of keep you motivated versus just trying to get home when you're in the bubble.
One more thing to consider is, last week the NBA announced that they were putting basically a definitive ban on players going to clubs and clubs and different night activities during the season.
Did James Harden get that memo?
I think he did not, to mitigate the risk of COVID. Now, that could be a big impact. And one thing to consider, even with predictions and whatnot with the season going on, is possible suspensions going into the year. We'll see how, when push comes to shove, when it comes to the NBA and Adam Silver and the executives, and we have star players continually breaking this protocol, say if they do, will they come down with a hammer on them compared to other players? Let's say you have the James Hardens, the LeBron James, the, whomsoever number one top 15, 20 players in the league continually breaking protocols? Are you going to be hammering down with them on suspensions and risk losing TV money, revenue, possible fans if they're even allowed at that point? Now that's something, that's more of an answer we're gonna have to wait and see. But I hope the NBA sticks to its word, and I hope it is more of a all for one and one for all, where the rules apply to everybody, and not just and nobody is above the game, and nobody is above the. I don't care if you're a fifth player on the bench or if you're James Harden. If you break the rules, you break the rules, and I hope the NBA sticks to that, because we're not just talking about breaking a small rule. We're talking about potentially playing with the health of players and families and individuals' lives.
So I want to add to that, and I think that the thing that I've seen from this NBA, and especially Adam Silver as a leader, when it comes to players' health, especially with COVID, he seems to be no nonsense, right? He is willing to crack that whip, and I think players are coming into this year understanding the financial impact of each game on their take-home salary, right? So I won't get into the specifics, but historically, teams would have to keep I think it was about 10% of a player's salary in escrow. Now, because of COVID and just essentially projections of loss of revenue, they're going to be keeping around 30 to 40%. So the entire league is going to be less liquid. And so there's going to be expectations and an understanding that with a new CBA coming, the rules may not be the same in a couple of years. And so the money that you leave on the table this year, you might never get that back, right? People don't understand that could be the really real future for NBA players. Like these outrageous contracts may not be the norm in a couple of years. And I remember when they first locked down the season last year, CJ McCollum, the shooting guard on the Blazers, posted, "Man, I hope everyone saved up money because who knows how long we're going to be out for," or something to that effect. And so I think players are going to take it a little more seriously. But I think where the big differentiator is going to happen is the teams that are mentally sound and have good coaching. Those are the ones that are going to thrive. So like the reason why, I think you guys picked the Heat was to come out the East is I think the Heat are going to be more mentally tough than the other teams in the league. Right? I have the Celtics coming out, and that's because they got a great coach and young, hungry guys. I had the Lakers coming out the West because they've already proven that they're going to be mentally tough enough to focus on getting a chip while other people may get distracted. And I think that's going to be the real differentiator.
Well, thank you again for those points, and I appreciate everything you guys said, especially Yusuf. It's nice coming from it's nice from a medical standpoint, Yusuf giving his opinion and what he thinks is the right thing. And obviously Ibrahim and Danielle, you guys know how I feel about all you guys, and I appreciate you guys joining us and listening to us on our podcast. It's one of many, and we hope to entice you and more listeners. And please let us know how we can improve, what topics you guys want to hear. And we hope to catch you guys soon. Take care. And it's see you later from the Bench Mob Scrubs. How should I end it, guys? How do you guys want to end it?
I think that's perfect, man. See you later. Until next time.
Until next time. Bada bing, bada boom. Until next time.
Yep.
Is it over now?
I forgot Daniel was still
End
here.
with Danny saying hi, guys.
Hi,
Hi,
guys.
No, hey, guys.
No,
Hey,
he should say bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.